Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to God's Garage. As I promised, we have a little car that we have to fix. Now, I did a few things and tried to narrow down if it was a head gasket, and I believe it is a head gasket or a inner manifold gasket, which will be down there anyway, so we might as well replace a head gasket. But yeah, so I have a 2004 Pontiac Grand Am. It's high miles, but I got it for very cheap, and I haven't had anything to work on in a while. Got all these new tools and stuff like that I'd like to use, and I figured this would be like the perfect car to either flip or daily drive, replace my, demolition derby looking car, and maybe turn that into a demo car, or I might have that car sold. I'm not sure, but yeah. So here we have the car in the garage. It is a tight fit right now. We still have to move a lot of stuff out of this garage to better suit, working on some cars. But this is 3400 Grand Am, and I will be walking through how to change a head gasket on that. As of right now, I'm going to open up this garage door. We're going to lift this car up, and we're just going to drain all the fluids. Radiator, which is just water right now because it keeps running out of coolant, is an internal leak, or the reason why it could be all like kind of wet and oily right there is because it's leaking out of the head gasket right there. Also, it is getting like a cylinder 2 misfire, so I'm assuming once you pull the heads off and stuff like that, number 2 is going to have a lot of milky stuff in there. But the oil is not contaminated. It is straight oil, as well as the coolant isn't contaminated either. It is blowing white smoke only when the cylinder 2 misfire code is coming on, which it flashes the check engine light. And I have an OBD2 reader, and yeah, so that's the only time it blows white smoke, and I'm guessing it's because of the internal leak. The water is actually going into the cylinder head and is blowing out white smoke, not blue smoke. Doesn't smell like oil or anything like that, so it's definitely not burning oil. But yeah, so first things first, we gotta drain all the fluids, the oil and the water, and then we can start like pulling off the battery, pulling off the air box, which I already have half the air box off because I pulled out the thermostat to make sure that that wasn't an issue. But yeah, so I guess as of right now, what we're going to do is lift the car up, put it up on some jack stands, open this garage door to give us some better light, and then drain all the fluids. Yeah, just let it drain and stuff like that. Then we can start disassembling the top of the engine and all the accessories that need to come off, which is pretty much everything. All right, guys, so I got the car up on jack stands right now. It passed a wobble safety test. Try to be kind of safe so the car don't crush me, but I'm going to drain the oil now. I'm going to start with the oil first because the water I can just drain in buckets, whatever, because it's only water. So, but yeah, then after that, I'm going to remove the hood because the hood off is going to be a lot easier to, just not get in the way. All right, I got the drain plug off. The drain plug is a 13 millimeter. I couldn't use a open end wrench. I had to use a ratchet because it was under kind of tight. But as you can see, the oil, it's black. It doesn't look milky. I mean, from that, I guess in the camera it looks like it's like brown a little bit, but it's actually black, and doesn't look like there's any coolant that got flushed in there. So pulling that off, we're gonna leave the oil filter on. All right, I didn't feel like I should show you how to remove the hood, but it was just two 13 millimeter bolts. The hood is on top of the car, so there's no hood. Next thing I'm gonna do is disconnect the battery and then pull this air box off, just to free up some room because we're gonna have to take some stuff off in there. But oil is done draining. I had to drain the coolant yet. As far as I know, there isn't any coolant even in the car, so that might not have to happen. But I'm gonna pull that drain plug off anyways, just to check. I have the battery disconnected. Right down here, you'll have the battery hold down. That is a 13 millimeter. Okay, for the air box, I already took the bottom part out, which is over there. I did that to get to the thermostat housing earlier, which I did not get on video, but it's pretty easy. You have 2 sensors right here. You have to pull clips out, one right here, one on the side of here. You got your vacuum breather line or whatever you want to call it. Then you got a straight head screwdriver hose clamp right here. And after you take that off, well, either way, you just pull it out, and that's how you get the next thing you want to do is take off the throttle body. You have a sensor right here, you have a sensor right here, you have a sensor right here, because eventually you want to get this whole loom pulled over anyways. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to disconnect the throttle cable, cruise control cable, and this whole bracket right here so that we can get to the 4, I believe, 13mm bolts. I will confirm that once I get to it. Another clip right here. There we go. And then we can pop these little connectors out, so you want that loom to be completely gone. So I'm gonna work on getting the throttle body out, and if I come to any difficulties or anything, you have this little coolant rail right here that hooks into the bottom of the throttle body. Now the easiest way to get these off is you take like a angled, sorry these are rusty, I accidentally left them outside, but so you take these butterfly clips off and you just squeeze the tube right here and you can twist them off. And then yeah, that's the last thing we have to do with that. So then this is going to come off. I decided to take it off with the throttle cable all hooked to it. And I'm hoping, if I can, we could just bend it around, but I'm going to try to figure that out. Okay guys, now that the throttle body is out of the way, and I will be getting some throttle body cleaner and cleaning all that up and everything like that. Now the throttle body is out of the way, I'm going to work on getting coolant hoses off. So like this one, we can disconnect this one. We're going to have to take the thermostat housing off eventually, not sure when yet. Maybe after I take the head off. Or no, that wouldn't make sense. So we're gonna take that thermostat housing off. It's a bitch, but I already had it off once. We're just gonna start removing all the coolant lines, and then we're gonna start unplugging like sensors. We're gonna pull the coil packs, we're gonna pull the alternator and stuff like that. So that's what I'm gonna start working on. It's pretty basic. There isn't really any way, you know, any set way you have to do it that I know of. If I run into something, I will let you know. I literally did no research on this, but you know, everything just bolts up and unbolts, so you just gotta keep track of all your bolts. A good hint to do is just put all your bolts back where you took them out, so that way when you get to it, you know exactly what bolt is for what, and you don't have to worry about a thing. So yeah, I'm gonna start just unbolting. Just a quick update, I'm taking my time on this, so I'm not moving very fast, but I got the overflow tank right over there pulled out and out of the way. All it is a 10 millimeter bolt. Bolts in right here. You have a sensor right here on the bottom. You have a you know, where you have a coolant hose right here. Coolant hose that hooks to the top, and there's also another coolant hose that comes across and hooks on here. So now I did that. I pulled my spark plugs out. Now if you're trying to reuse your plug wires, just be careful. Mine got stuck on there, but I'm replacing all of that anyways. So I have these ran up here right now. I just want to get the sensor or the wiring harness out of the way. That way I can start pulling that, and I can get on behind there and pull the spark plugs off there. Then we can start removing the coil packs and all of that. Also, I'm dreading this, but I do eventually have to pull this thermostat housing off, which is two 13mm bolts. All right guys, thermostat housing is off. Like I said, it's two 13mm bolts, one right here, one right here. The best way to get this one is to use like an open-ended wrench. Go in from like in here and here, just get it loose, and then I was able to get it finger tight, or you know, loosen it off with my fingers. So we got that off, and I did break 2 vacuum lines. These 2 right here, which are right up there, the white one, there's a black one, and I had to look up where those go, or maybe I could find the other ends. I just can't see them right now, but that sucks. But you know, things like that happen in an old car like this. So as far as of right now, we got thermostat housing off, we got the throttle body off, we got things starting to come off. You know, we're starting to show the engine a little bit more, the top part of the engine. As of right now, I need to get up on top of here, get the bottom spark plug wires off, so I could get the like everything else up out there. I'm not sure what process I'm gonna go first. But yeah, just keep at it. All right, guys, after I got the serpentine belt off, in order to do that, you got your tensioner right there. I just used a regular ratchet, put it in there with like a cheater bar or something like that. Bent it to serpentine belt off. And then now I'm working on an alternator. We got 2 15mm bolts. You get one right here. One, I'll show you right there. And then, because it's a little stuck, so we're just gonna hit a little bit, try to loosen it up and get it out of there. Might have to use a crowbar, but you wanna be careful because this casing, they will crack and break, and then you gotta buy a new alternator, or you can risk using it and then have to replace it later. But yeah, there's actually another 13mm nut holding this, which is the ground for the alternator. So that's the only thing that's holding that. And then next, I'm gonna work on either taking off the power steering pump. I'm sorry, the power steering pump, and also the AC unit we're gonna pull off too. So, but as of right now, I'm calling it quits for right now because we are gonna go out to eat, and we're gonna get back to this either tonight or maybe tomorrow night. All right, guys. Now I'm finishing it up. I took the alternator bracket off, which were like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 15 millimeters, and pulled that off. And so yeah, now you can see this side of the head. Now we're gonna start working on the coming up this way more before I start working on the accessories over here. So I think the only thing that needs to come off now is power steering pump, and I think that's it. So we will continue this on later. I'm going out to eat, so see you guys in a second for you. What's going on, guys? So next day, back at it again. Last thing I did was take off the alternator bracket. So now the car's off jack stands and stuff because you actually had to move it because we had to get some stuff out. But now I'm gonna start taking off the coil packs and whatever else is on top of the engine right there. That way we can get to manifold, and so we can pull off that intake manifold and, you know, just keep working our way down. Okay, guys, so I just got the coil pack off. All it is 2 10 millimeter bolts and 2 13 millimeter bolts. You have this little holder right here for the wiring harness, and you have 3 sensors to unplug, plus all your spark plug wires. So that's pulled off, which we then expose all of this. So I just have to run this wiring harness over that way so we can see the whole underside of this, and then we can take out the manifold. I am pretty sure. Maybe we have to take out power steering pump first. I don't know yet, but I'll figure that out. Okay, guys, so the intake manifold is off. I had to take this off. I'm pretty sure that has something to do, yeah, it's EGR or something like that. There's a couple of sensors that you had to remove right here. This sensor right here, I had to take the back of the screws out. There's 2 7 millimeter bolts that go right in there. I had to take that out so I can move it so you can get to that bolt hole right there. Yeah, so all that is off right now. Now all we got to do is remove anything else that is touching the heads. So I'm going to start with obviously some sensors. We can pull the injectors out of the way. You can tell these kind of look really corroded, but fuel rails do not have to come out. You can get to the bolts with a skinny socket. But yeah, I'm pretty sure this power steering's got to come off. I believe that's it, to be honest with you. I gotta take this lower radiator hose off, but then we can start working on taking the exhaust right there, taking this off, and you leave this crossover pipe on so you can pull the heads off with it. But yeah, right now I'm gonna work on getting this lower manifold, the lower intake manifold off, and checking the gasket on that to make sure that that was not the culprit, because on these 3.4 engines, I guess the inner intake manifold, the gasket, if it breaks, it can cause the same issue as a head gasket. Well, same symptoms as a head gasket. So I'm gonna definitely double check that. But since we're down there, you might as well pull the like the heads off and everything. So I'm gonna get to that. All right, guys, ran into a hiccup. I'm not positive I have to take this power steering pump off, but I'm just pretty sure by looking at it, I think I might have to, just to reach some places and make it like a little bit easier. So I have to take this motor mount off, and I have a jack right up underneath the engine right now. And you got 3 13 millimeter bolts, and you access them through the holes. There's one I took out, there's the other I took out, and then there's one over here. I'm sorry, over here. And you can't get it because this motor mount is in the way. And see, there it is right there. And yeah, the motor mount's in the way. Actually, I don't know, maybe I can get that. I don't have to do this by taking it all out. Oh, let me try that real quick. It's kind of on an angle, so I'm afraid it's going to strip, but maybe just taking the bolt out. Alright, guys, so I definitely did have to take out. I mean, you got a sensor, and you got some bolts down here. So I definitely did have to take the water pump, or the power steering pump out. How I did it was took the motor mount off. It's just right here, and it's 2 17s and 2 15s. And then I got a jack underneath holding up the engine, and you can jack it up and down whatever way you want it. I had to jack it up to get to that bolt still, but I got the bolt out, so now we can start working on pulling off. I think that it, I don't know, that head right there looks like it's connected. I don't know. I gotta work on pulling these fuel rails off. I do not have a GM fuel line puller, so I gotta figure that out and then go from there. Just a quick little update. A change of plans. I don't have the tool to remove the fuel line, so I took the fuel rail off. I have somewhere around here. I have more O-rings. The reason why you don't take that off is because you can tear the O-rings because they're old and stuff like that. But I have new O-rings, so it's not a big deal. I got all the lower intake manifold bolts out. They were all just 10 millimeters. You got one right here, and it's very hard to get, as well as one on the other side. But you also got like one right down there, and then one right there, but you can get that with an impact, so that was not difficult at all. I got one valve cover off. I'm working on the other valve cover right now. Then we should be able to pull the intake off, slide it from underneath the fuel rail. There is this line right here. No, let's see. This line right here does go on the other side of this line right here, but that line is held on by a hose clamp right over there, so I should be able to take that off. Now I am focusing on this little bolt right down here. I'm gonna use the camera to get a better look at it. So I don't see why this one isn't coming off. So I can get the fucking camera in there. All right. Seems to be a different size, maybe? I don't really know why it's not actually going on there. So I gotta figure that out, but yeah, I'll remove the lower intake and I'll show you more. All right, guys, so I got the lower intake manifold off. If you can see this, I'm pretty sure that's that fucking head gasket repair shit. You don't ever fucking use that. It's bad. It's very bad. Both sides. I'm pretty sure that's a water port. So I don't know, but I guess as of right now, we gotta take these we gotta take the rockers off so we could pull the push rods, and yeah, I might have to fucking try to clean that shit out. But this is what the inside or underneath the lower intake is. I suggest that you don't do it my way because that was a bitch. Not only did I bend this shit, which these fuel lines have like a little like leeway, you know, how much you can bend them. But I ended up breaking the water tube right here. That connects that. So I'm not entirely sure what I can do about that. Might have to use like a hose or try to rig something up. I'm not sure yet. We'll figure that out on the way. But as of right now, we are down to the lower intake manifold. I want to take that plastic little intake off, or the gasket off, and see if there's any cracks or anything, if that is why. Because everything is having a cylinder too, so this one. I don't like that though. I don't like it at all. I'm actually really unhappy. Alright guys, so I don't know, maybe this was the issue. Maybe water wasn't able to circulate. I don't really know. I'm gonna have to look up like a diagram of like the water circulation, like how it goes. But anyway, so this one's still blocked, you can tell. And I just cleared all this one out with my shop vac. I just broke it all up, had the shop vac right here so nothing fell down. And then pushed it in there and it sucked a bunch out where it started actually sucking water through here. So that side's all cleaned out. I just gotta clean this side out. And I have to go over, I'm gonna replace this gasket anyways. We're already down here, so even if that was the problem, we're still gonna replace all that shit. But yeah, not too happy. All right guys, so I got both sides cleaned out. I'm gonna clean them out better when I get the heads off, but now we gotta take the rockers off so we can get the push rods out, because the lower manifold gasket right here actually holds in the push rods right there. So instead of just breaking the manifold, we can just take the push rods out, and it's just a 8 millimeters. So I'll finish taking all these out, and then you gotta make sure when you take these out though, you keep them together. You want, so this would be the left side of the engine right here. You want all the rocker arms and bolts and everything for the left to be with the left head and right with the right head kind of thing, because if not, you can get some valve train noise and you don't really want that. So just better be safe than sorry. So I'm gonna get this done, we'll get back to it. All right guys, just like that, the heads are ready to come off. We still got to pull the exhaust off back there, and maybe a couple little things that we got to undo before we can get the heads off. Head bolts as well, you know. And here are my rocker setup. I know they're sitting on the ground right now, but I'm going to be wiping them off, cleaning them off with parts cleaner and stuff like that. But like I said, that'd be the front of the vehicle, rear of the vehicle, cylinder, what is it, 2 all the way to 6 or whatever it is. I don't know the firing order, but yeah, I was looking at the, besides it being like really warped and stuff, I don't see any breaks or cracks or anything. Besides, like, let's see. So this goes like this. I mean, it's broke right here. But other than, you know, and it's really, actually, I'm pretty sure it goes like this. Sorry. But other than that, it doesn't really seem like it's actually broke or anything. So I'm not too positive on that. So either way, we're going to replace it. Now I'm going to pull the head bolts off, and then we're going to lift the car up, and we are going to take the exhaust off. That way we can lift these heads up, set the heads on something soft, something on the ground. I'm not sure if it's going to be worth getting these heads checked. Pressure checked and everything was like a couple $100. I bought this car for $300 just to work on, so I'm not sure. I think I might just get a new head gasket, like a crush one, and some copper spray or something like that. I don't know for certain. I'll call around and see if I can get a cheaper price to get the heads looked at least surface wise, like, and I don't know, check after that. All right, guys. So the heads are off. The gasket was like fucking terrible over here. I had to cut the exhaust off because those bolts weren't coming off, and I didn't really want to break the bolts, so we just weld that back together. But the heads are off. Heads look fine, besides like all being gunked up and stuff like that. Obviously, I didn't, you know, laser measure it. But that's cylinder number 2, and that's all water right there, oil. So that's where the head gasket was broke at. You see all that head gasket repair. So we have to go through and clean every single porthole, vacuum everything up, and flush it with water, and clean like the whole thing up before we put new head gaskets on, which I don't even have yet. But yeah, I did everything without even removing the fuel rail or the fuel lines. And broke a few things like the heater core hoses, but we can make that work. And broke 2 vacuum lines, and that was it. Definitely not bad. Alright guys, that's going to wrap up this video. It's a teardown video. When I get the head gaskets and the rest of the gaskets and stuff like that, we will do another video about putting everything together, which will probably go a little bit more quicker, I hope. And that will involve like clean up and everything in the engine and stuff like that. So thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, and you guys have a great day.